Hey, get inspired, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Life Inspired, the show where we're talking all about turning points in people's lives. There's a life was going along and a dot, dot, dot kind of, and then God steps in and does something, and now you're walking inspired and a new direction. God typically changes your direction in your life multiple times. Our guest today, Peter Rienks. I'm so glad to have you as our guest again, Peter.
Thanks, Diane. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yep. So we're glad to have Peter back. Actually, his story that he shared a couple years ago was about their family, and they have he has a business story he's going to share with us today. You can share these stories from the lifeinspiredshow.com, our Facebook page, or our YouTube channel, and it would help other people hear about how God's working in people's lives. If you could like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that helps more people get exposure to what God's doing in the world today. And there is so much going on. Because of COVID, we're not on the couch together. You're in your office and I'm at TJ21 Studio. So it's really fun that you're able to do it this way. Technology's crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm glad it works out. Happy to be on the show and thankful for technology that we can still connect even through all this.
Absolutely. So I know Peter through Christian Business Fellowship, which is a great organization that's helping business owners take their next steps and grow their businesses. And being there helped you do what you're doing now. Tell us a little backstory before the turning point. What are you gonna share about your business stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm 35 right now, and I, in my 20s, I think had a very worldly view on what I wanted to do for my career and what my goals were. And so God was blessing me despite my selfish pursuits. I was working for a solar company, and we were developing large solar projects. It was a startup here in South Bend called Innovative Solar. It's a great company. They've done a lot of really neat projects all over the world. And I was one of their account executives developing projects. I was flying all over the country and got to attend some black tie events and visiting some of the largest cities in America. And it was a lot of fun. And I was exposed to a whole nother side of business that I never knew existed. Honestly, I was homeschooled growing up. I lived a really modest life, and so this was it was a neat adventure for me. But then, I got married and started having children, and God started doing a work in my life, and started to realize that wasn't the things that I were pursuing. That's not what life is all about.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about this new thing. How did he move you into what you're doing now?
Right. So I would say that process, God really working the dot, dot, dot you're talking about, really was probably about 3 years ago when, so I went back to school at Notre Dame to get my MBA. And really the whole reason I went to go do that, I selfishly wanted to be on the Forbes under 40 under 40. That was my goal. I didn't verbalize that very much. I didn't tell people that, but just kind of internally, I was like, that's what I'm aiming for. And so I went to Notre Dame to get my MBA, and they had a spirituality class, which, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be filled with the Bible and lots of scripture. And, it really was more wishy-washy but there was, even though it was they were trying to reach a broad audience with that, wherever you're coming from with your spiritual background, it still meant a lot to me because they challenged everyone. Where are your values? Rank your values, rank your morals. What are the things that are most important to you in life? And so I went through this exercise of, okay, my faith, my family, my friends, my relationships, the values of integrity and honesty and when I was working through that process, then they said, okay, now take those things and go and write a mission statement. And so, back in 2014, 15, I wrote a mission statement that said that I wanted to change culture. I wanted to change the culture around me for being a Christ follower, being a husband, a father, a friend, a team member. I wanted to raise the bar in every one of those categories and help change the culture around me to be, a better place that glorifies God. And then I kind of looked at, man, my family was up there really high on my mission statement and my morals and values. And so when I was spending so much time away from my wife and away from my children, it didn't line up with my values. And so
Right.
God started to work in my life that, and I started to really hate the traveling. I hated spending the day, away from my family and away from my wife. And my heart would ache, when we weren't together. And that's when I knew I needed to find something to do that aligned with my, morals and values and my mission statement. And so 2017, I went to go work for a construction company for a couple of years, and that ended up not being the right fit for me either. And it was really God preparing me to go and start my own business and really make something exactly what He's called me to make. A company that glorifies Him, a company that changes the culture around us. And so, the Rienks Group is the name of the business. We call ourselves TRG for short. And TRG is a commercial real estate development firm. And so it's small, it's a startup, and trying to create something, that is more substantial. But I think the team and the process of getting there is what's most important, not necessarily, the projects or what we actually accomplish. It's more about the process of getting there. And so, yeah, it's been a really fun ride. So far, I'm 9 months into it, and I gave the analogy the other day. Somebody asked me the question, well, how are you sustaining growth right now? And I was like, well,
In the middle of COVID-19.
Yeah, in the middle of all of this. And so it was like, well, I'm not there yet. We're not in the money. I'm not dealing with, how do I manage all this work and all these different projects. It's more, the analogy I gave is that my business right now is still like a fragile little baby bird that just hatched. And without my constant attention and my constant focus and nourishing and protecting it, it's going to die. And so my sustaining is protecting that little baby bird. And, we're having a lot of fun doing it. It was really important to me to integrate the family into this. So my wife helps me with the projects we're working on. I bring my children to work with me 1 day a week, and they kind of get to see what Dad does every day. And sometimes it's sweeping floors and taking the trash out, and other times it's having some meetings and some nice phone calls and conference calls. But we're making it work, and we're doing it together. And I really there's a lot of fulfillment in working to build something brand new, something fresh, and I want to build something. I want the Rienks Group TRG to outlive me. I have 4 boys, and I hope that it's something that they can be a part of someday, and maybe their children and grandchildren. Maybe this could be a multi-generational business someday. And that's what gets me really excited.
That's cool. So when you say you want the business to glorify God, what does that look like in today and the employees and teammates that you have today? What are you guys doing to try and make sure that the business is doing business in a way that honors God? What does that look like for you guys?
Well, I think there's some practical things that we do, right, that we do every day in terms of the way we communicate with one another and the way that we act around each other. So, having good integrity, but then there's also the customer facing things, doing the right things for them, looking for opportunities to make a difference and help out wherever we can. So there's a widow that, needs help with fixing a pond, and it's not working the right way. And so they're getting their house ready to sell, and we're trying to get this thing running right and fixed up. And, there's some other situations that we're able to give and help. We do our meals together. We pray together every day. And then I think more importantly, it's being open to what God has for us. And when those opportunities come across your table, that you take advantage of it. You don't say, well, I'm too busy and I can't do this, but you actually are looking for and open to God moving. So another really cool thing is one of the buildings I own in Niles, Michigan. It used to be a party hall. And, the funny thing is, it's kind of a rundown party hall. And it used to, they used to have these all-you-can-drink nights. And nobody was carding. And, back in the 90s and early 2000s, this was known for a place of really debauchery. And one of the cool things is, so when I bought the building, we shut down the party business and put it up for lease. And really cool thing, a pastor who has a church plant in Niles, a really special guy in church, Relevant Church. Their pastor is Muta Moenia, and we've been working with him for the last year, trying to get him into our building. And so they just announced it to their church about a month ago, in the midst of COVID, in the midst of not meeting, that this is going to be their new home. And so it's just, that is, cool. Makes my heart so happy. It's not going to be the best moneymaker. It's not the best investment all the way around, but it's a building that the Rienks Group owns that is going to have a church inside of it that's making disciples and changing the culture around them. And it's just, it's so happy, makes me so happy to see God getting glory through that. And just the story of redemption in a building, that it was used for these parties before, and now it's going to be used to make disciples. And so, there's a lot of little things. It's hard to say, here's the formula of, exactly what you need to do. But I think being open to what God has for you and looking for those opportunities is what's most important.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, the being open thing. Just, okay, God, what's today look like? What's every minute look like? We just had a teammate this week say something about, she had her agenda that she wanted to follow for the day, and she knew how much time she had to do it, and I really need to get finished by this time because my family needs me, and something interrupted in the middle of the day. And she's like, God, what do you want me to do? I got to do all these things. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to go over here and take care of this person. She had to sit with this person for like 30 minutes. And when she was able to get back to work, she got all of it done by the end of the day in less time because she listened to that little,
Yeah.
So I think saying, I could make more money if somebody else was my tenant, but this tenant is who God wants in my building.
Yeah.
I can bless them because I can. It's not the most money for me, but God God will bless me in other ways because I'm blessing them. So yeah, I love it, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to be faithful with that. It's a really neat opportunity. He's your next guest, by the way, Muta Melania, a great pastor making a huge
Hook me
difference.
up. Yeah.
All right, I will. He's a really good dude.
Okay.
So I'm excited about them being in the building and seeing what God has in store for their church. And I would just say, adding on to just kind of the whole story, right? Wrapping this up. So, where my head's at right now, God is still humbling me, right? I mean, when you start your own business, you really have to check your heart, because if you started a business so you could be your own boss, I'll tell you, you're never more accountable to more people than ever when you're running the business. And if you think it's because you're going to get rich quickly, I've never been so poor in my life, and that's not that can't be your motivation. You really need to have a passion for what you're doing, and to be inspired that you can make a difference, that your product, your offering, whatever it is going to change the world. And so without that passion, that energy is going to fade. And so my passion is a source from a calling from God. It's from my family. And so now I can say, listen, that 40 under 40, that was the wrong goal. I don't care about that. I don't care about my social media followers. I don't care about how big or important my business or what I do sounds, right? I think there's a temptation when you're at those social events to make what you're doing or your job or business sound really important. And there's a little bit of like peer pressure, right? When I get together with old friends or alumni, that who's doing the coolest stuff, and really that all carries very little importance to me anymore. And I still fight those feelings, some of those insecurities, but I know that's the wrong thing to be focused on. And so I'm just excited about where God's going to take us, and being open and willing to take that next step.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Peter. We're so grateful for you to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love it. I love what you're doing here with this, and sharing these stories are really inspiring.
Thanks. If you guys would like to hook up and ask Peter questions about Christian Business Fellowship, or about what it looks like to go into your own business, or if you have questions about what TRG is doing or Relevant Church is doing or whatever, message us here. We'll hook you up with Peter. And we just thank you again, Peter, for being a guest. And
thank you
we thank
so much.
you guys for watching. We thank you for liking our Facebook page and subscribing to our YouTube channel and sharing Peter's story with whoever you think might need to hear it today. Thank you guys. Have a great week. Bye-bye.